Have you ever seen one of those crazy smooth cinematic animations in a Houston Cold video and thought, damn, how do I make something like that? Well, guess what, you are in the right place. Because in this video I'm breaking down step by step how to recreate an actual animation taken straight to one of Houston Cold's official edits. The one you are seeing on screen right now. The best part? In the description you can find all assets and also project file. So with all of that said, let's jump straight into the tutorial. Okay guys, so let's get started with this tutorial. Firstly, of course, we need to create first composition. Let's name that main comp. Let's also set reversed full HD, frame rate to 30 and duration to 10 seconds, then click OK. And after that, first what I want to do is to create this 3D rectangle with this virtual item text on that. So let's do it. To do that, firstly we need to create new rectangle shape layer. We will start from selecting this tool, rectangle tool, and setting this type of almost black but not exact black color, and then we can create actually that rectangle, something probably like this. And now to make 3D layer from this, we need to firstly go here and make this 2D layer 3D layer by clicking here. Okay, and now we actually can do 3D here, but first what you need to do is to go here and change classic 3D, what is basic option, to advanced 3D, or if you have older version of After Effects than 24 or 25, you need to click Cinema 4D. It will not change a lot, just advanced 3D is a little smoother in my opinion, but you can still easily follow everything what I will be showing by using advanced 3D on Cinema 4D, so it's not problem. I will just select here advanced 3D because I have this option in this version of After Effects. And then after changing that, we can see that we have geometry option here, and we need to click here, and here we have something like extraction depth. We need to change that from 0 to 50. Okay, and here to show you what we just did, I will change here from one view to 2 views. Okay, and here custom view 1, and here we have view from side. And as you can see, what we just did was that we created this 3D traction here, and we use extraction div to just change how our object is thick. We need only 50 here. Okay, like that. Then what we want to add on this object also, as you can see, we have 3 strokes that are like in front of our main rectangle. Okay, so to create these strokes, first what we want to do is to duplicate this first main object. Okay, then on our duplicated layer, let's go to fill, click none, then go to stroke, let's set that to red, and let's set pixels to 1. Then also we need to change extraction div from 50 to 2. Okay, and now we can duplicate this duplicated shape layer 2 more times. 1, 2. Okay, and after that we need to change this Z position of every stroke exactly like this, probably. Maybe it's a little too far. Okay, now it's perfect. And what I also missed is that we have these roundness edges for all of our rectangles. So let's do that also for our object. To do that, we need to go to contents, to rectangle, then to rectangle path, and here we have roundness. Let's change that to 30. Okay, as you can see, we have here that. And let's do the same thing for rest of our rectangles. Okay, I'm done with that. Then let's add this virtual item text on our rectangle. So to do that, of course, we need to create a new text layer. Okay, and I used impact font from what I remember. Impact this one, and let's write virtual item. Okay, perfect. Of course, color have to be red. And then as you can see, item text is shorter. So we need to make it bigger, thanks that all of these words are going to ending and starting in the same place. So let's make it bigger, as I said. Probably something like this. Also, let's go here and let's move that closer to virtual text. Okay, maybe it should be a little bigger. Okay, perfect. Also, let's change this red to a little darker red. Same thing we can actually do for our strokes. Okay, perfect. Now let's make this virtual item text 3D layer and let's make that smaller, probably to something like that. Let's move that to the center of our rectangle to prevent of glitching, because right now probably when there will be animation our virtual item can be glitched and can sometimes go behind shape layer because it's in two similar position. And to prevent of this situation we need to go to position and let's change here to like -4. Okay, just in case. Okay, now let's also add these rectangles along with presents for every of them. I'm talking of course about this element of this composition. So let's do that. First, what I want to do is to go to our tools and go to pen tool. Let's set stroke here to 140 and then let's create something like this. Okay, perfect. After that, what I want to do is to go here, go to the contents, go to shape, go to stroke, and in stroke you have something like dashes. Let's click plus right there. Okay, perfect. Then go to dash and let's set that like that, but we need 10 rectangles here. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. But as you can see now, shape of our rectangles isn't what we want. To fix that, I will simply duplicate this shape layer and I will change position of that. Okay, like this. Now it's in good shapes. Perfect. For now, let's also pre-compose that. Let's go to the pre-compose and here we can continue with this element. Let's add presents for every of rectangle. Presents in this animation are going from 25 to 2.5%. So it's simply going from 25%, 2.5% down for every rectangle. So let's just do that. Let's create new text. Let's start from 25%. We can use impact font and this dark red color. Okay, perfect. Now let's make this smaller and let's place that in the place back to first rectangle. Let's make this a little smaller, something like that. And now simply you just need to copy that, place that back to second rectangle and here go down by 2.5% to something like that. Then adjust position and just do same thing for every rectangle. Okay guys, I'm done with this mission. As you can see, it looks exactly how I said it should look like. Then I think that we can just copy all of these layers from this pre-compose and let's back to our main comp. Let's delete this pre-comp. Let's paste all of these objects here. Let's go below our main object and let's make this as 3D layer for all of these layers. Okay, and with that we actually done with our design part of this tutorial. Now let's animate that. Let's start from creating new camera for this composition. Okay, then let's link new null to this camera, and first animation which we need to create is this in zoom here at start of our animation. So let's do it. It will be very simple. Let's change position. Let's make first keyframe at start, second at around 2-second mark, then go to first keyframe and let's change position on first keyframe to something like this. Then go to graph editor and let's do this simple sharp graph. Okay, it should look like that. Second thing should be this rotation of our virtual item object. Firstly, of course, let's select all objects for our virtual item and then link all of them to one null. So let's create first keyframe at start for this rotation and then second keyframe at around 2-second mark, like that. Then also go to orientation, and here we want to set this orientation to 330, okay, and also second setting for orientation to 50 and third setting to 8. Okay, now let's back to this setting for this rotation and let's go to first keyframe. At first keyframe, let's change this degrees to -100, and for second keyframe, let's change that from 0 to 10 degrees. Okay, like that. And then let's go to graph editor. Let's change from speed graph to value graph, and let's create this graph, something like this. Okay, so for now our animation looks like that. Second thing what we want to animate is, of course, this rectangles strip. It's just a really simple and smooth position animation. Okay, so let's do it. Of course, firstly we need to select all objects that are included in this strip. Okay, let's select that, and after that let's link all of these objects to null object. Okay, and then go to the start, let's go to position and let's create first keyframe at start. Then let's go to around 2-second mark and let's create second keyframe there. Then go to first keyframe and let's change position to something like this, so just a bit down. Then we can maybe a little bit more. Then go to graph editor, go to speed graph, and let's create graph like this. So really sharp thing. And after that, as you can see, we want to have this strip with percent numbers like below this virtual item object. To do that, we just want to link under null to this null, so it will be easier for us to change. Then go to position and let's move position something like this. Then go to scale and make that bigger. Okay, and now actually it's perfect. I really like that. Now we are done with animation for this first part of animation, but as you can see we have second part, which includes this zoom out animation along with text that will appear after that animation. So let's do that animation and then we'll go straight to final touches when all magic will happen. But yeah, let's back to animation for now and let's create out zoom animation. We want to place peak of this out zoom animation somewhere probably here. Let's mark this and it will be placed when we want to place our peak for graph for this out zoom. Let's link another null for camera, then go to position. Let's create first keyframe, for example here, and second keyframe, for example here, and then on second keyframe let's change position to something like that. Then let's go to graph editor, go to speed graph, of course. For position always we need to use speed graph, and let's change graph to something like this time. It shouldn't be very sharp, it should be kinda smooth, exactly like this. And now we need to do this opacity animation here So as you can see, it's going from 100 opacity percent to 0. Along with that, we have flicker effect and more things, but it will be included with final touches. So for now, we just need to do opacity animation. To do that, let's create first adjacent layer in this tutorial, and then let's add here transform effect. After that, let's go here to opacity. Let's create first keyframe, and we want to move this keyframe to, for example, 1 second. And then let's go somewhere here. Let's create second keyframe, and on second keyframe, of course, let's put 0 here. Also, let's go to graph editor, go to value graph, and let's change our graph to something like this. So just easy in, easy out. Okay, it looks like that. Perfect. Very smooth. Now let's add our text. Of course, I'm talking about this. Nobody's really gonna care about text. Okay. Of course, we need to create new text layer to do that. And here actually I used Montserrat medium font. Okay, let's make this a little smaller. Let's make color to white. And then we can write here nobody's about. Okay, let's move this second line of this text a little down. Then go to paragraph and click this option. Okay, exactly like this. Now let's make this text smaller, of course. Then let's make 3D layer from this, and you need to remember to put this behind our adjacent layer here, because of course we did here opacity transition, and what was on adjacent layer was appealed to every what was below this adjacent layer. So if we will just move that below adjacent layer, it will disappear because opacity on that is set to 0. So it of course have to be in front of adjacent layer. Okay, and now go to position, and let's just move that a bit closer to camera. To make here realistic look, we also need to move this even closer to camera, and then change scale to something like that. Okay, now it's perfect. Then we also had this text animation on our nobody's really gonna care about text. So let's do this text animation. I will do it by using text evo script. So click here to add text evo on our text, and then let's go to transform, let's go to opacity, set that to 0, delay to like 0.6, and let's have this animation started on our mark. So like here probably. Okay, perfect. Now we are done with all animation and design for this composition. Let's check how it looks like. Okay, as you can see, it looks really good even now, but you know, actually final touches in Houston Cold style are almost the most powerful thing in this style, so it will add a lot of good looking for this animation. But actually, let's also make another null for this null of camera, and let's create a little more movement at the end of animation, because as you can see, after our out zoom animation is ending, this is like in static position. It's not good. We always need to have movement in our animation. So let's create a little movement here. Let's just do really small out zoom without any graph on this, just something like this, so it will have still some movement at the end of our animation, exactly like that. You see we still have movement. Okay, perfect. So now we are officially done with our animation and design. Now let's go to our final touches. Okay, so we'll start from deep glow, of course. Let's create new adjacent layer. Let's add here deep glow. Okay, and let's set exposure to 0.2. Then another effect is going to be, of course, CC vignette. Okay, and amount to probably 120, like this. Then let's add here film damage effect from Shafira, this one, and let's leave here basic settings. Then something really important, because for now, for like kinda blur at the edges of our animation, I was using unichromatic aberration effect, but I know that Red Giant plugins are not so popular and a lot of you guys don't have this plugin on your computer, so I just created for us a version of chromatic aberration but using free CC effects that are already in your After Effects. So let's do that. First effect will be CC lens, this one, and size to 200, then this setting to 25. Okay, exactly like that. You see on the edges we see how this effect works, and then we need to add CC radial blur. Let's move that behind CC lens, and here let's change amount to 5, then type also to straight zoom, and quality to probably 30. Okay, perfect. Then the last thing is going to be posterize time, and posterize time this time I want to set to 12. Actually it's working better for Houston Cold than our basic 16. Then also, to be honest, for our text part we don't need this CC lens and CC radial. Of course, to do that in a smooth way we will use, of course, opacity kinda transition for that. Okay, I want to remove this effect, probably already like here, so just let's cut that here, but also let's change here opacity. Let's do 2 keyframes, something like this, and here from 100 on first keyframe to 0 on second keyframe. Okay, so it will be smooth removing of that instead of just cutting this absent layer and leaving that. Okay, also as you can see here, we have this extra noisy effect, this kinda grain exactly here. So let's add that to our animation as well. To do that, firstly you need to download from description this texture, or you can find just something similar on FreePic or on any other free website with PNGs. Okay, let's upload that to our composition and let's move that below our adjacent layers, and then let's add here curse effect. Okay, and here let's make graph exactly like this. Then let's also change opacity here from 100 to actually just 10. Okay, then also let's change mode from normal to screen, and then also let's add here motion tile. Okay, and let's set this to 300 to 300. And I did that because, as you can see here, sometimes our grain is changing position. And to do that, we need to do a little script here. Go to transform, let's press Alt and click on position here. And here we have place for our script for this position. And first let's write here posterize time, set that to 5. And then let's write wiggle and set that to 3 and 1000. Okay, perfect. As you can see right now, it's changing every 5 frames, like position of noise is changing every 5 frames. Okay, perfect. Let's check how it looks like, because actually we just need to do one more little thing and it will be ready. But let's for now check how it looks like right now. By the way, actually before pre-rendering, let's also move this behind our adjacent layers. I made a mistake, it should be behind, not below. Okay, now let's check how it looks like. Okay, so this is exactly how it looks like, and it's almost ready. I don't know if you recognized what we miss here, because it's not big deal, but it will make our outzoom transition from first part with objects to our second part with text a little smoother. It's this flicker effect here. As you can see, it's not just opacity from 100 to 0. Here we have also flicker effect. So let's add flicker effect for our adjacent layer for our transition. It's exactly here. Okay, so now we can simply add here flicker effect from Shafir. I hope that most of you guys have that. And now for amplitude, let's create first keyframe here and second keyframe at exact same place as second keyframe for opacity. So exactly there. And here let's do 3 as our amplitude for second keyframe, and for first keyframe of course 0. Okay, perfect. Also we have here blur effect. You see, it's making our transition even smoother. So also I want to add here the most basic blur, fastbox blur. Let's move that behind transform and flicker, and let's go to fastbox blur, let's go to blur radius, and let's create keyframes at exact same places where our rest of keyframes are for our transform and flicker. Okay, like that. And let's start of course blur radius to 0, but on second keyframe let's set that to 7. And for that blur let's also do really simple graph, just something like this. So thanks that it will be not so sharp at the end. Okay, and now we can officially say that we are 100% done with this animation. Let's pre-render that and see how our final result looks like. Okay guys, so here it's how our final result looks like. As you can see, it looks insanely good. Our 2 extra effects for our outzoom transition from first part to second part. So our, as you can see, blur and also flicker added here a lot of more cool looking, and now it looks insanely good in my opinion. We did a lot of good work here. So I will not take you more time. If you like that video, just leave sub, leave like. I hope I see you in my other and next videos. Bye.